receiving. I mean, the Cambridge Analytica case gets more and more bizarre. It sounds like it should be part of the Russian collusion investigation. So whistleblower Christopher Wiley is suggesting that his predecessor at Cambridge Analytica died mysteriously in a Kenyan hotel room in 2012, suggesting that his predecessor was poisoned after a deal went south. This is the same individual who talked kind of openly and proudly about another individual, at Cambridge Analytica talked openly and proudly about Cambridge using prostitutes and other, questionable tactics to try and compromise politicians who they were targeting. The Cambridge Analytica piece of this whole discussion about Facebook.
Sorry, what was the question?
Give us your take on the Cambridge Analytica piece of this whole, because this is Facebook as a political tool, and Cambridge Analytica's role in this as sort of a representative of a lot of these kind of digital investigative and marketing companies that use Facebook for political purposes.
Yeah, so as far as the conspiracy theories that have been thrown out there by some of the people involved in the situation, I don't really know. Actually, there's so much news surrounding this one company that there's so much information being thrown out there. So I'm not even aware that he said someone died in Kenya or whatever. As far as Cambridge Analytica's role in all this, I think it is worrisome that there are data companies that are so eager to find every little thing about us. But it's also not necessarily new overall. What is new is the tactics that they use to get it. I mean, a lot of people on the right have been arguing that, well, didn't Obama do this and everyone call it genius? Yes, Obama did it to a certain extent, but there was more transparency with what he was doing. Cambridge Analytica made it seem like when they're collecting people's data, they were using it for academic purposes. But academic is a very general word, but they were really using it to sell it for political purposes. And they were also violating other Facebook rules, like extracting information through friends. So that means that the middleman, the friend of the friend, the one in the middle, isn't aware that he's giving up his friend's data. And so there are some similarities between what Obama did in 2012 and what Cambridge Analytica is now. But Cambridge Analytica, I would say, went a little too far and broke the rules that Facebook rightfully had in place.
And doesn't this dwarf anything that the Russians tried to do in terms of meddling with the election via Facebook ads?
Russia, I think, is a little overplayed. Just like I think this whole Cambridge Analytica thing is a little overplayed. Overplayed in the sense of how much it actually affected the election. Both Russia spent very little and actually got very little outreach relative to the trillions of content online. And you can say the same for this. They've made profiles of a couple 100,000 people. Eventually, they got information to some say millions. But at the same time, out of all the people and all the content that is online, I really think both of these situations were either already should have been aware that this was happening, and if not, then it's really not as big or not as expansive as many people think.
Eric, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook included, of course. Facebook's the big gorilla in the room. But the way that people use these sites, the amount of personal information they end up sharing via pictures and via, I'm going on vacation and I'm going here and there and everywhere, does this rise to a level, these allegations, these revelations rise to a level where you think it actually will get people to change their behavior? Do they care enough?
I think people care a lot, but does not outweigh there's a feeling that they need to have these kind of things, these kind of apps and services. Because if they don't, then they're like, well, all my friends are on, and I like communicating with them. So I think a lot of people will sacrifice knowing that tech companies have their data, have their tendencies, their patterns, their trends, if it means they can communicate and use the social media services. A lot of people argue that the problem is Facebook's so ubiquitous. How can I not use it when everyone else is using it? I understand that notion, but at the same time, if you don't believe what a company is doing right, the best way to get them to stop is by not using their service rather than trying to ask the government or threaten them with regulation. So I think people will keep complaining about what these tech companies are doing. And I think for the time being, no one is really going to change. The usership of these apps, I think, for these tech company services is not really going to change, at least yet, unless more and more scandals and apparent missteps and embarrassments keep happening. I'll say maybe in the year after, let's say, 3 more scandals happen, then maybe there could be a tipping point. But I don't see it that yet, because people love social media too much.
So if significant attrition is not in the offing in the near term, what do you think it was that brought Mark Zuckerberg to the table in terms of testifying before Congress?
Well, I thought his response was very interesting. This is not many people notice this, and I've written about this. This is what he typically does: is he makes an apology, but at the same time as sounding contrite, he also gives reasons for why people should not be so upset. They're subtle, and they're often at the bottom, and they'll have his most remorseful statements towards the top. And at the bottom, he says, like when on Yom Kippur, the Jewish holiday of atonement, he apologized for having people misuse his platform, in this particular case, Russian operatives. And he apologized. And at the bottom, he said, well, it was only $100,000 spent, and it was very limited relative to the rest of the platform's ecosystem. So I think that a lot of people will, like you said, significant attrition will happen, and I think eventually people like Zuckerberg will have his back against the wall, which he kind of has now, and then people will ask, well, maybe I shouldn't, maybe in a year or two from now. I think Zuckerberg agreed to it now because there's so much hysteria around this, especially from the left, and their calls seem to be a little more louder than other people on the right or the center that don't think this is as huge of a deal as everyone else does.
He is Eric Lieberman, tech and law reporter for the Daily Caller News Foundation. Eric, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. And
he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Amanda Zanger, owner of Black Industrial and Safety Supply in Hammond, Indiana, and a business customer of Signature Bank. Prior to owning my own business, I worked for a major financial institution. So when it came time to finance the acquisition of Black, I approached a big bank, only to receive a solid no. That's when Signature Bank stepped in. With Signature Bank, the process was different. Signature provided creative financing options that enabled me to purchase Black and continue to grow the business. Thanks to Signature Bank, Black Industrial is able to continue serving Fortune 500 industry fabricators and contractors with tools and safety supplies as we have since 1893.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I had this crazy thing happen with my eyesight. I went back to get my contact lenses done, and my optometrist, and I'm 46, he said, this is really weird, but your eyesight is better. I'm like, I can't believe it, but I think it's these vitamins I'm taking.
I'm a huge believer in the product. I've tried lots of stuff, and this is the only real thing that I've ever, because of all these comparisons with all the other stuff I've had, this is by far the best thing, and consistently.
We're so healthy now on the Balance of Nature. There's no words to say how well it works.
Doing good on it, really. I'm feeling my skin is softer, and I feel good.
When you call, use discount code CHICAGO, and we'll take 35% off your first month's order and ship it to you free. Call 800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
The following is a paid political announcement.
For decades, our country has lived through the greatest jobs theft in the history of the world. Our factories were shuttered, our steel mills closed down, and our jobs were stolen away and shipped far away to other countries, some of which you've never even heard of.
And who's responsible for those lost jobs? Career politicians. Senator Joe Donnelly profited from Mexican labor, and Congressman Todd Rokita and Luke Messer, they voted to fast-track Obama's trade deals. Donnelly, Rokita, and Messer let Indiana jobs go to China and Mexico and sat on their hands. We can't trust them to bring good jobs back. Businessman Mike Braun, conservative, Christian, Mike Braun will help President Trump make America stronger than ever before.
I'm Mike Braun. I approve this message.
Paid for by Mike Braun for Indiana.
There's a lot going on with your mouth. It's how you communicate through speech and your smile. It's where you put food to fuel your body. It's how you show affection to your loved ones. The health of your mouth and teeth are so important, and Dentistry for All Ages in Elk Grove Village can help keep your mouth and teeth in excellent condition. When is the last time you had a dental checkup? It's suggested every 6 months. Dr. Leischner and Dr. Fernelli at Dentistry for All Ages focus on comprehensive consultations and most dental services. But start with an oral cancer screening using Velscope. It sounds technical, but it's a really simple process. And right now, you can get a free oral cancer screening with your dental cleaning and exam. Dentistry for All Ages is in Elk Grove Village, Suite 660 in the Eberly Building in Alexian Brothers Hospital, with a convenient indoor parking garage located on the first 4 floors. Call 847-439-2445 for an appointment, or go to dentistryforallage.com. Dentistryforallage.com.
Earnings vary based on your effort. Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in Chicago? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the Chicago area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. Chicago is a perfect market for my system, and this week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties.
To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, call 1-800-900-9144. Seating is extremely limited. Call right now because this free ticket offer expires this Friday. That's 1-800-900-9144. That's 1-800-900-9144.
AM 560, The Answer.
Scott, not since Ray Wardingley ran for mayor of Chicago has the clown community been so energized about politics, and that's because Steve Loff is running for Congress. Steve Loff is a professional clown, so it's nice that he could bring some professionalism to the clown show that is Congress. He is a graduate of... There he is. I wonder if he has a superfluous nipple. He is a Ringling Brothers Barnum & Bailey Clown College graduate who, appropriately enough, has previously volunteered for both the presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders.
You could do worse than a clown, I suppose. I saw in the story he's for reforming gun laws, providing universal access to health care.
Yeah, he wants the gun laws. You can only have guns that shoot the bang flag.
Right?
That's his reform, which, you know, I suppose that's sensible in some respects. Yeah, he's a Democrat.
And appearing...
Obviously, he's a clown.
Appearing at campaign stops in costume with the paint and the nose. They do say, and I mean, you would know, define yourself before your opponents have a chance to define you.
It's true.
So he is really getting out ahead of himself here.
He's really inoculating himself from the clown cracks by showing up in full battle regalia. His campaign, there he is. His campaign slogan: "Aim high, vote Loff." I don't.
Low.
Aim
Maybe he
high.
pronounces it low, perhaps. Aim high, vote low.
Oh.
Yeah, so that makes more sense.
That does make sense. The silent GH confused me.
But this
Aim
is
high, vote low.
Another example, though, of making lemons out of lemonade. You got to diversify your skills. He was a clown for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, and kaput. So
that's right.
You go back to some job training, perhaps funded by the federal government, and you come out and I can be a politician too. I can run for office.
Maybe if they were nicer to the elephants, he'd still have a job.
That's true.
Dan and Scott Bertram coming to you live from Hillsdale College this morning. Coming up, we're going to talk to our friend Steve Moore about that South Korea trade pact Trump inked. Will it offset the brinkmanship with China? But now we check the headlines with Dave Stewart.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Scott. Good morning. 40 degrees in Chicago, 731 on AM 560. The Answer. Partly sunny today. We'll see a high of 57. China confirms that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un did in fact visit this week and met with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. MSNBC terrorism analyst Malcolm Nance has more on the significance of that.
We are seeing not a Nixon goes to China moment, but by getting Kim Jong-un to come to Beijing, Beijing now controls the entire destiny of the Korean peninsula. It is no longer in the hands of Washington.
During the meeting, Kim reportedly expressed willingness to hold talks with the U.S. and his commitment to denuclearization. The White House is not refuting a report that President Trump wants to pay for his border wall through the military budget. The Washington Post says Trump is selling it to lawmakers as a national security issue. California is suing the Trump administration for including a question about citizenship on the 2020 census. California's Attorney General Xavier Becerra said that asking about citizenship doesn't only threaten immigrants, but everyone in the state. Willie Wilson running for mayor of Chicago once again. The businessman and philanthropist announced yesterday at Chicago State University that he'll challenge Mayor Emanuel next year. 2 people wounded after a shooting in front of a business in the city's Little Village neighborhood. A man and woman shot last night in the 3600 block of West Cermak Road. They will survive. Gun violence, though, is down this year in Chicago. Police say the city's seen 25% fewer shootings than at this time last year. As of this month, gun violence in Chicago has dropped for 13 consecutive months. In sports in the NBA, it was the Rockets over the Bulls, 118-86. Major League Baseball, Red Sox over the Cubs, 4-2 in the final preseason game. Cubs open the season at Miami tomorrow afternoon. The White Sox also open the season. They're in Kansas City tomorrow evening. News the service of Accountemps. When you could use help closing your books and need additional staff, it's time to call Accountemps. They can provide you with bookkeepers and other accounting and finance professionals on a temporary or project basis, and fast. So call today. Accountemps, a Robert Half company. AM 560 News Time 7:33. Traffic in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher urges you to keep a level head.
And this is a budget that, again, except for the military portion, we're going to be back to the same place we are today, October 1st. We get carried away and we get very depressed. Our highs are too high. Our lows are too low. And we've just got to take a breath and realize that a lot can happen between now and October.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I was surprised at myself how much energy I had, and I'm doing 2 jobs, running around like a maniac, and I was able to handle it. Really, I'm like, wow, this stuff is really good. So, more than anything else, it just gave me the extra energy and the well-being, feeling of well-being that I don't think I would have without it.
Well, I take it every day, and I feel great. And my wife looks at me and says, how come you never get sick? And I do. It's because I take the fruits and veggies.
I just feel a lot better. My life is turning around. Everything is working for me.
It just helps me feel good. I just think the products are wonderful, and I take them every day. I just like it. It works.
When you call, use discount code CHICAGO, and we'll take 35% off your first month's order and ship it to you free. Call 800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
At 7:35 from the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center, here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, David. Kennedy inbound pretty light right now. It's slow between Irving Park and the Burns Circle. The travel time is 30 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, 20 from Montrose, 22 in the express lanes. Outbound, 10 minutes to Montrose, 28 to the airport. Eden's fine inbound at 19 minutes, Lake Cook to the junction. Outbound 20. About Eisenhower delays are from Austin to the Circle. It's 49 minutes, 390 to downtown. 36 from Manheim. Outbound 33 minutes to 390. Mount Stevenson delays start at Central. 49 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound 35. Now the inbound Ryan has a jam at 79th. There was a crash which had all but one lane blocked. But looking at the jam cam, we see all lanes have just reopened. The damage is done. It's 45 minutes, 95th to downtown. Delays on I-57 start before Holstead. 22 minutes, I-80 to the merge. Bishop Ford 35. Delays starting before the Stony Island feeder. Northbound Tri-State stop and go from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis and from the Reagan Tollway to the Eisenhower. From Reagan Tollway slow, 25 to past Eola. Traffic service? Staples. Staples knows running out of ink is no way to do business. Help keep your business working and your printers printing. Go to Staples for a huge selection of ink and toner and find your ink in stock every time and at a low price every day. You can meet every deadline. Staples, it's pro time. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
More of Chicago's Morning Answer comes your way next, but now the forecast. Today will be partly sunny and pleasant, not quite as cool, with a high of 57. Mostly cloudy, a little rain late tonight, low 42. Cloudy and cooler, a little rain in the morning tomorrow with a high of 48. Right now it's 40 degrees at O'Hare. Next news, 8 o'clock. Get continuous coverage of the latest news, traffic, and weather at 560theanswer.com. Now more of Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour radio show, Saturday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer. Brought to you by Pearshell Financial Group.
If you're talking about it, I'll be talking about it. Dennis Prager here. Join me this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan. And with me this morning, sitting in for Amy J., is Scott Bertram. He's the general manager of WRFH Radio Free Hillsdale. We're broadcasting live again this morning from Hillsdale College in scenic Hillsdale, Michigan. This is the Mesopotamia, as I've said before, of higher education in America, Scott, and it's been a pleasure to be here the last 2 days. I know our next guest, Steve Moore, is going to be green with envy that I'm spending my time in Hillsdale, and he has to spend his time taking idiotic questions from CNN anchors.
Also, perhaps green with envy of Loyola's run, because Stephen Moore, a U of I guy, big U of I guy.
Yeah, I don't even believe they have a basketball program anymore.
Not with all the transfers out the past few weeks.
Steve Moore, CNN economist, Heritage Foundation economist. Thanks for joining us again, Steve.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. So Trump inks his first trade agreement with South Korea. This doubles the cap on U.S. auto exports exempted from Korean safety and environmental standards. And in exchange, they get some limited relief from the recently enacted steel tariffs. This a good deal that Trump negotiated?
You know, it is. I'm a free trade guy, as I think as you are, but I would say this. You know, this is part of the new Trump trade doctrine, which is to use American influence and the fact that all these countries desperately need access to the U.S. $10 trillion consumer market, and he's leveraging that to get deals from these countries so that they buy more American products, that they play by the rules, that they don't put restraints on what we can sell them. And I think if you can do this in other countries around the world, I think it will be good for American workers. I think it will be good for American companies. And ultimately, I think you could have that kind of regime where free trade can actually flourish, but countries are playing by the rules. And, of course, the big one is still China. I mean, China's the big kid on the block, and that's the situation that I think has a lot of the financial markets very fidgety right now. But imagine for a minute that we could get the Chinese to make these kinds of concessions in the weeks ahead. It would be the optimal outcome. You know, they'd stop cheating, they'd stop stealing, they'd start playing by the rules. Might be cooperative in terms of disarming North Korea. That's a win-win for everybody.
Scott Bertram, Stephen, South Korea gets an exemption. We know Mexico and Canada have exemptions to the recently enacted steel tariffs. Right. In your mind, is the outcome of the announced tariffs at some point being basically marginal because of deals struck with countries around the world?
Good question. Look, as Dan knows, I mean, when the original steel tariff was announced, which was, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I mean, my head hit the ceiling. I mean, I was furious. I mean, that's not it isn't even a very smart policy with respect to, protecting American jobs because, as we've discussed on the show, if you have steel tariffs on all these other countries and we're, producing things with 20% more expensive steel than the rest of the world, that's going to probably end up costing American jobs more than it's going to save. But you've got this kind of strategic view on trade, and I'm not even saying it necessarily approvingly. I just think it's an interesting strategy that Trump is using, which is, look, we're the alpha male when it comes to the the world economy. Every country needs access to the United States more than we need them. I mean, we both benefit, but they benefit more from trading with us than we do with them. And Trump is using that leverage as a way to enhance the American economy. I do like the fact that he's, one of the things that we recommended to Trump, and as you guys know, my buddy Larry Kudlow, I think he starts today as the new, chief economist for Trump, is to make sure that these tariffs are targeted to the bad actors on the world scene, specifically China and Russia. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to be infuriating, Germany, Canada, Mexico, the countries that we're going to need a unified front against China if this strategy is going to work.
I wish Larry Kudlow would have started last week, because perhaps he could have prevented Trump from signing that omnibus spending bill. How big of a
me too. I'm with you. By the way, I have to say on that, were you talking about the omnibus?
Yes.
bill?
Yeah. How big of a mistake was that?
I just wrote my column on this yesterday, and I made this point that the Republicans are living in some kind of bubble in Washington. I mean, I've been on the road the last 4 or 5 days. I've been to Colorado. I was in Arizona. I was in Florida, talking to conservative and business groups, and people are pissed off. I mean, the Republicans thought, oh, gee, we'll spend all this money and everybody will love us, and we'll pass out all the candy, everybody. And they had the politics completely reversed. People are angry at the Republicans, and any Republican who voted for that bill, I think, is in a lot of danger. So this idea of, well, we're just going to get reelected by passing out the pork, that doesn't work anymore.
Well, right. And in addition to kind of that not working philosophically, Republicans also...
It's bad for the economy, too. But I'm just saying, as a matter of politics, they had it all reversed. And Trump should have... I wish... You're right, Dan. I mean, I wish Larry had been on the beat last week, and he would have told Donald Trump, and I certainly would have told Trump this, veto this bill. I think Trump would have been a hero if he vetoed that bill.
Well, right, and it's certainly consistent with brand what he did, even though he announced doing it begrudgingly. It just doesn't sell. And going back just politically for a second, you already have an enthusiasm gap with the midterms ahead, and this is just going to expand that gap.
I don't think there's any question about it. And, I've been actually surprised about how angry people are. I thought it was a bad bill, but Americans think it's just a total betrayal. And what's so interesting to me, I went back and looked at the vote. I was shocked. It was one thing to, for these Republicans to pass it 218 to 217, and just by one vote to keep the government running. But, scores and scores of Republicans voted for this. A lot of those Republicans, Dan, were people who were swept in during the Tea Party, movement, which was an anti-big government movement. It was only 7 or 8 years ago. And now they come and turn around and they vote for this big flabby spending bill. I had a dinner, I don't want to be a name dropper here, but when Larry had a big party for Larry Kudlow a week ago, Wednesday actually, and a number of the cabinet secretaries were there. I'm not going to name their names, but 2 or 3 of them came up to me at this dinner and said, Steve, we can't even spend the money fast enough for these guys. They're giving us so much money in this budget. I mean, when the cabinet secretaries, the ones who run the agencies, say we don't want the money, and Congress is, pouring it on them, there's something seriously wrong here.
Well, Potomac fever, and let me ask you this. There was a report out the other day from a Nevada congressman suggesting that Paul Ryan may be a short timer, that he may take the exit stage left before the midterms. What are you hearing about that?
I don't think that's no, I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think this, that, Paul Ryan is, if the Republican, I'll put it like this. I think the odds of Republicans losing the House increased significantly because of what happened last week. And you put it very well, Dan. It's the enthusiasm gap. I mean, they already had an enthusiasm gap, as we saw from a lot of these special elections, where the left is totally fired up. And now, a lot of Republican voters are demoralized. They're like, well, why vote for these people? They break their promises. They say they're for fiscal responsibility, limited government, balanced budgets, and then they pass this flabby spending bill. And, I'll make one other case, and this is Steve Moore speaking as an individual, not necessarily a representative of Heritage. But do we really need to spend $700 billion more over the next decade on the Pentagon? I mean, I drive by the Pentagon every day, Dennis Scott. It's the biggest bureaucracy you ever saw. There's no reason we can't provide the best security in the world with $750 billion a year spending. I mean, why not get the Pentagon to be efficient and productive and get rid of the things that we don't need instead of just lavishing more money on them.
Stephen Moore, your friend Larry Kudlow, now the president's chief economist.
Yeah.
We know
as of today.
Yeah, we know he's a growth guy, right? 4% growth. Can we get to 5% growth? But his mantra, growth solves a lot of problems. What is he going to be whispering into the president's ear to hit those marks?
Well, first of all, I think you're exactly right. I'm writing this book now called Trumponomics with Larry, and we're almost done with it. And the kind of conclusion of the book, what is Trumponomics? What is the whole philosophy of Trumponomics? It's growth. That almost every problem in the country can be solved or, alleviated by getting growth. And the converse of that is true, too. If you don't have faster growth, you're never going to deal with the problems of poverty or the problems of not having enough money for infrastructure or bringing the debt down and deficit. So I think he will be a steady voice for growth. But I think his greatest role will be to just communicate this message of growth and this message of why the tax cuts and the deregulation are working, and communicate that to the American people, because they haven't had anybody very good on that. I mean, look, we've got a booming economy. We've got an economy now. I saw a statistic in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. And they're now estimating there are 5 million more jobs in the United States than there are people to fill the jobs. I mean, that's a wonderful problem to have, because it'll bid up wages. I mean, middle class can get higher salaries. You're not locked into your job if you don't like it. So you've got this incredible economy, and yet you've got a president with a 40% approval rating. Now, some of those, that's due to, unforced errors by Trump, but some of it is just they're not communicating well, not just the economy's doing great, but that it's because of Trump's policies. There's a lot of Americans who still think this is the Obama recovery, and it's ridiculous. The reason we're recovering is because Obama isn't president anymore.
But would you say the danger ahead is for Larry Kudlow to remind President Trump that private sector growth is jeopardized by public sector growth, crowding out private sector investment, so growth needs to be in the private sector, not in the public?
Of course. I mean, amen to that. You're exactly right. And this is really the central difference in the economic philosophy between people like Art Laffer and Larry Kudlow and Steve Moore and Steve Forbes and people like Larry Summers and Paul Krugman. They still have this Keynesian view, even though Keynesian economics has never worked out ever since, it was tried by Franklin Roosevelt in the Great Depression. Government spending actually is a depressant for the economy. It's not some kind of stimulus. I mean, so you're right. We have to get the American people to understand that. And by the way, I know your friend Nancy Pelosi thinks that food stamps and unemployment insurance are the way to make the economy grow, but it didn't work out so well.
He is Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, senior economist for CNN and Heritage Foundation economist. Look forward to his forthcoming book with Larry Kudlow on Trumponomics. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay, I want you to be the first guy out there promoting that book. It'll be out in October of 2018.
All right, very good. We'll look forward to that. Maybe I'll get a book jacket blurb. All right, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Check of the weather. Mostly cloudy with a high near 47 today. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 39. Thursday, 50% chance of rain. Cloudy with a high near 44. Then cloudy overnight with a low of 32. The sun comes out Friday with a high near 47. Now we check the roads with Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Danny. About Bishop Ford Freeway, it's jammed for the Stony Island feeder up the Rhine to 79th, where there was an earlier crash. All lanes have reopened. The Ford is 45 minutes, 80-94 to the merge. I-57, 22 minutes from I-80 to the Rhine, and the Rhine, 35 minutes from 95th to downtown. Eden's fine inbound. Outbound, got a 2-minute delay from Devon to Niles Center. Kennedy, delays start to Kimball. 35 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 26. The Eisenhower, 52 minutes, 390 to the Circle. 38 from Manheim. Outbound 34 to 390. Stevenson, 52 minutes, 355 to the Drive. Outbound 38. Northbound Tri-State delays from 95th to the 83rd Street toll. From the Stevenson to 47th. Then from the Reagan tollway to the Eisenhower. The other tollways are great. Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
It's Dan Proft, and I'm excited to tell you about the Dangerous Camp for Boys and over 20 other summer camps from Northridge Prep. What's Dangerous Camp? It's a camp designed to get your boys off their iPads, iPhones, and video games this summer. It's dangerously fun, not unsafe. They throw water balloons, play games, and learn the meaning of outdoor adventure. As a listener to the morning show, you've heard me talk about Northridge Prep, the all-boys school in Niles that instills the traditional values you hold as parents. Their summer programs for boys in grades 1 through 8 combine fun, adventure, and character growth. You won't find camps like this anywhere else. A few camps caught my eye, like basketball camps led by a former NCAA Division I coach and varsity players, battles of the Civil War, bugs and botany, intro to musical improv, even a robotics camp where campers learn to build, pilot, and code their own robots. Get your son off the couch and into the outdoors. You can learn more and register online at northridgeprep.org. That's northridgeprep.org.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I'm Mark Gastineau. I played in the NFL for 10 years. I was diagnosed with CTE, with dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. The fruits and vegetables that we take from Balance of Nature is the best thing that we could ever do. And I'm calling in now to order extra because of my wife has been taking mine because she sees a difference in me. It is a wonderful thing that Balance of Nature is doing. I hear the testimonies on the radio, but I'm a testimony for myself. And the fruits and vegetables, if I don't take them every single day, my day is not going to go the same. So God bless you, and thank you for what you've done for my wife and I.
When you call, use discount code CHICAGO, and we'll take 35% off your first month's order and ship it to you free. Call 800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
This is Dan Proft with 60 Seconds of Sanity for Upstream-Ideas.com. The main thing we learned from the 3,000-plus school walkouts that occurred and those already being planned for April 20 is who's in charge of K-12 education in America. And that should frighten you more than your average 18-year-old with a rifle or a violent video game. Those pillaging America's schools like Malcolm McDowell and his droogs in A Clockwork Orange are in charge of our schools, not attending them. It's zero tolerance on the one hand and tolerance of everything, including thuggery, on the other. If you're a white kid who scrawls the square root sign evoking a gun on a math assignment, then bring in Jack Bauer and put him on the clock. If you're a minority kid, say in Parkland, Florida, you can threaten to shoot up your school and no one will say anything. Under the guise of racial equity, schools are moving to remove disciplinary consequences for certain students and take discretion away from law enforcement in the process. Neither are teachers immune from the imposition of leftist orthodoxy. Just ask the California teacher put on administrative leave for hazarding a thoughtful discussion with her class about the politics of protests ahead of the walkout. With the politics being pushed on their kids, now is a good time for more parents to wake up and walk into their kids' schools for a healthy stop, look, and listen.
Hi, I'm Jim Vanham with Strategic Financial Group. With the new tax law, charitable gifting will be more complicated than ever before. We're your experts in charitable gifting, and we can help you stretch your donations to worthy causes like Giant Steps. Now, with more, here's my friend Dr. Sylvia Smith.
Thanks, Jim. Giant Steps takes pride in providing a holistic and innovative approach to programming for individuals with autism. As students turn 22, government support stops and the options for programs become limited. This is why our Canopy Adult Day program needs your support to continue our mission of preparing adults with autism for a fulfilled and productive life. To donate, visit mygiantsteps.org. Again, that's mygiantsteps.org.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for creating such a nurturing environment for young adults with autism. To find out how to stretch your contributions, please go to stgfin.com. That's stgfin.com.
With so many homeowners fearful of poor service and not knowing who to trust, home remodeling is often delayed. But do you ever wonder why so many remodeling experiences go so wrong? Advanced Design Studio thinks remodeling shouldn't be so painful. Will the project stay on budget and be done on time? If you're nervous about home remodeling, you're not alone. Whether you're contemplating a new kitchen or bath, want an addition to your home, or in need of a whole house transformation, Advanced Design Studio is the company to call. They understand your fears and know how to overcome them. Backed by 25 years of producing positive remodeling experiences, Advanced Design's client service process, called Common Sense Remodeling, averts remodeling project delays, budget overruns, and produces a rewarding remodeling experience. Make this the year you overcome your fears and remodel your home, bath, or kitchen. Don't be a bad remodeling story. Use common sense and visit AdvancedDesignStudio.com for more information or call 847-836-2600.
Earnings vary based on your effort. Message and data rates may apply. Do you want to learn how to make money flipping houses right here in Chicago? If so, we have an amazing opportunity for you. We're looking for a small group of motivated individuals to join our real estate investing team. You'll learn our simple 3-step system for flipping homes right here in the local area. This is Than Merrill, star of A&E's hit TV show Flip This House. My team and I are looking for a handful of people in the Chicago area who want to learn how to make money flipping houses in your spare time using other people's money. Chicago is a perfect market for my system, and this week I'm holding a free 2-hour educational workshop where you will learn how to make money flipping homes and how to build long-term wealth with income properties.
To get 2 free tickets to Than's workshop, text RADIO to 82,000. Seating is extremely limited. Text RADIO to 82,000 right now because this free ticket offer expires this Friday. Text RADIO to 82,000. That's RADIO to 82,000.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom, and I'll be your server tonight. Just to let you in on some of the specials that we currently have. First is a wild-caught heart disease served on top of a bed of onset diabetes with an arthritis dressing. Second, we have our chef special. It is a sautéed obesity served 2 ways with a side of gastrointestinal issues. Anyway, can I go ahead and get you guys started with some drinks?
I don't think we're hungry anymore. Thanks, though.
At Calitrin, we don't believe in drugs or stimulants, but rather products that are powerful and connect us to the natural world. That's why Calitrin is 100% all natural and the #1 choice for healthy weight loss for over 20 years.
Hi, I'm Danny, and I'd like to say that I lost 8 pounds while I'm on Calitrin.
My name is Linda, and I've been on Calitrin now for about a year, and I've lost 48 pounds, and it's helped my arthritis, so I really recommend Calitrin.
Visit us at toploss.com or call 1-833-TOP-LOSS.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Scott Bertram in for Amy this morning. And Scott, voter fraud, not something that just happens in Chicago. Dateline, Northwest Illinois, Boone County.
Boone County, just east of Winnebago and Rockford. From the primary, former Boone County Fire Protection District 2 trustee Kevin Stark said he visited the polls Tuesday to discover someone already had voted in his name. Poll workers presented him with a document that showed someone had forged his signature. He was not allowed to vote until he presented a picture ID card.
Oh, now you have to present the picture ID. It's not the one committing the voter fraud. It's the legitimate voter. I wonder if the person who committed voter fraud will be intimidated by having to answer the citizenship question on the 2020 census.
Wasn't a mistake, Stark said. He literally tried to copy my signature. I hope he goes to jail. It's a felony. Of course, he or she won't, because how in the freaking world do you begin to track down who would have committed the voter fraud in this case?
And this individual has a bit of notoriety in the community, I understand.
Yes, that could be one of the reasons he was targeted for voter fraud. The Rockford Register-Star refers to him as controversial. And you said, well, what's the controversy about? I said, well, there's this sign he put out in front of his business. Can I say this?
Yeah,
okay?
Please.
Okay.
Please do.
So Kevin Stark has resigned. This is from about a month ago. Kevin Stark has resigned his appointed position amid controversy over a profane sign he planted in front of his Marengo trucking and concrete business. The sign, which has since been taken down, read, quote, Boone County has a fire association controlled by a handful of little fudge-packing fireman Facebook Rambos, unquote.
Okay. All right. Well, he said his piece a couple of times, in point of fact.
And then took it down and resigned.
Okay. Yes. All right. Some tensions out there Marengo way. All right. Coming up, we're going to talk to Bill Gertz about the Russian spies that have been expelled and sanctions that may be, additional financial sanctions that may be forthcoming. But now we check the headlines with Dave Stewart.
On It's his first trip out of North Korea since taking power. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Kim Jong-un, it's now confirmed, was in China, meeting with President Xi Jinping there, passing along word to President Trump that he's willing to end his nuclear program and hold talks with the United States. The president has been briefed about that meeting. Live at the White House, Fox's John Decker.
The president on Twitter expressing optimism about the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, writing, now there is a good chance that Kim Jong-un will do what is right for his people and for humanity. Look forward to our meeting. The president also writing that he received a message last night from Xi Jinping of China that his meeting with Kim went very well and that Kim looks forward to his meeting with me. In the meantime, the president wrote, maximum sanctions and pressure must be maintained at all cost. Chris?
John, the president also tweeting this morning, the Second Amendment will never be repealed. That's in response to former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens writing in the New York Times it should be repealed. The president continues, "No way. We need more Republicans in 2018 and must always hold the Supreme Court." More protests in Sacramento, California over the police shooting of an unarmed black man. Here's Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
A wake for Stephen Clark is set for today to remember the 22-year-old unarmed black man killed last week by Sacramento police. It comes the day after protesters disrupted a city council meeting, then blocked thousands of NBA fans from entering the arena for the Kings basketball game for a second time last night. Now, Clark was killed March 18th when two Sacramento police officers, responding to a report of someone breaking car windows, shot him to death in his grandparents' backyard. Police say they thought he was holding a gun. It was a cell phone. Chris.
Tanya J. Powers, thank you. An immigration detainee got away from agents at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York City and rode off in a cab last night. He was about to be escorted onto a plane. No word yet where he was supposed to be taken to. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Good morning. It's 40 degrees in Chicago at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer, WIND Chicago. I'm David Stewart. Partly sunny today, a high of 57. Chicago's top cop Eddie Johnson's rejecting a recommendation by the city's police oversight board to fire the officer who shot and killed Quintonio LeGrier and Betty Jones in 2015. COPA had recommended firing Officer Robert Rialmo, but Johnson said the shooting is justified. The two sides now will work on a compromise. Chicago City Council takes up a couple of gun bills today, including a specific ban on bump stocks and a ban on body armor for civilians. Illinois House lawmakers gathered testimony for a possible override of Governor Rauno's veto of the gun dealer licensing bill. Supporters like Millie Burgos of Chicago, who lost her 18-year-old daughter to gun violence, urged legislators not to give up.
I will continue to be her voice, and this is why I'm here, and this is why I go to Springfield, and this is why I go to Washington, D.C.
The NRA says the law would duplicate federal law and unfairly burden small businesses. Gun violence is down this year in Chicago. Police say the city has seen 25% fewer shootings than at this time last year. As of this month, gun violence in Chicago has dropped for 13 consecutive months. Two people wounded after a shooting in front of a business in the Little Village neighborhood. A man and woman shot last night in the 3600 block of West Cermak Road. The University of Illinois wants someone to oversee its $60 million in diversity spending. The school in Urbana this week said it's looking to hire a diversity director. In sports, in the NBA, Rockets over the Bulls 118-86. Major League Baseball, Red Sox over the Cubs 4-2. Cubs open the season in Miami tomorrow afternoon. White Sox open in Kansas City tomorrow evening. AM 560 News Time 8:04. Time now for the AM 560 Business Beat. And from the Fox Business Network, here's Jenny Cosola.
From the Fox Business Network, Facebook says it is changing its privacy tools. The changes follow criticism of the social network for collecting information on millions of Facebook users without their permission. The company hopes the update will make it easier to navigate its privacy and security settings. Facebook says it's trying to make the controls easier to find. 3 Facebook Messenger app users are suing the company in federal court in Northern California. They claim their privacy was violated. Playboy is withdrawing from Facebook. It has deactivated accounts that Playboy Enterprises manages for some 25 million fans. Drugstore chain Walgreens Boots Alliance is reporting stronger than expected business in its recent quarter. The Dow dropped 344 yesterday. The Nasdaq was down 211. The S&P dropped 45. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Jenny Cosola.
AM 560 News Time 8:05. Traffic in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
On AM 560, The Answer. Your opinion counts. And we want to know how you feel about the news stories we're talking about each and every day. Make sure to vote in the M13 Graphics Opinion Express poll at 560theanswer.com. Listen for today's poll question at 10:30 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 3:30 p.m. and hear the results each evening at 5:30. It's the M13 Graphics Opinion Express poll on 560theanswer.com.
A list of things that will let you down today. Your alarm clock, C-store coffee, public transportation, the office elevator, the sandwich you packed for lunch, the 5th floor printer, your cell phone battery, the shoelace you swore you double knotted, your hard drive, your backup hard drive, and of course, the weather. Brighten your day with something you can actually count on. GoToMeeting is the easy-to-use collaborative meeting tool that 18 million monthly users trust to help them get work done. To learn more about how you can meet better, visit gotomeeting.com.
Are we ready to open next month?
I think so.
You think so?
Well, it's complicated. Fire protection, first aid supplies, uniforms, safety training, match services. Oh, and restroom supplies.
So uncomplicated. Call Cintas. They'll handle all of it.
Wow, one company can handle all that? That's not very complicated.
So, you'll be ready?
Oh, we'll be ready.
Learn how Cintas can help you get ready for the workday. Visit Cintas.com.
At 8:06 from the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center, here's Jim Talamonte.
David, traffic sailing along on the Edens Expressway. It's 19 minutes either way between Lake Hook and Montrose. The inbound Kennedy does have delays from Kimball to Washington. It's 40 minutes O'Hare to downtown. 30 from Montrose, 24 in the Express. Outbound 10 minutes to Montrose, 30 to the airport. On Eisenhower, slow North Avenue to the Tri-State and Cicero to the Burn Circle. 54 minutes, 390 to downtown. 34 from Manheim. Outbound 36 minutes to 390. Inbound Stevenson, 50 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound 35. Inbound Ryan, 35 minutes, 95th to downtown, outbound clear. I-57, 16 minutes, I-80 to the Burridge, Bishop 422. Northbound Tri-State stop and go, LaGrange Road to the Hinsdale Oasis, except from the Reagan Tollway to the Eisenhower. The other tollways are fine. Traffic, service of Lowe's. Pro customers at Lowe's save 5% every day when you use your Lowe's Business Credit Account. That's 5% on all purchases in-store or online. Subject to credit approval, U.S. only. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
More of Chicago's Morning Answer next, but now the forecast with meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Today, partly sunny, high 57. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a little late-night rain, low 42. Rather cloudy and cooler with a little rain into the early afternoon tomorrow, high 48 and a low 32. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
38 at the lakefront, 42 in Midway now, 40 degrees at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Continuous coverage of the latest news, traffic, and weather at 560theanswer.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Secure Retirement Radio with host Raj Shah. Sunday mornings at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is Scott Bertram. He is the general manager of WRFH Radio Free Hillsdale at Hillsdale College, and that is where we are broadcasting live this morning. And Scott, I'm a little bit despondent. I just have an hour left, and then I need to return behind enemy lines. So it's been a nice reprieve, but
again, we can figure out a way. The hotel front desk is hiring for greeters, and it's more of a people person job, I suppose.
As long as I get 24-hour access to the Ludwig von Mises Library, I'm willing to do menial labor.
I'm not sure how much of that we have online, so you really have to come here to experience that.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Doors always open.
See if we can work something out. Speaking of working things out, Kim Jong-un, the pint-sized dictator of North Korea, confirmed that he visited President Xi in Beijing. Reports are that they had a lovely banquet, successful talks, that Un said he was committed to denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula, and so on and so forth, and that now Un is ready to meet with President Trump after these successful talks with the Chinese. How to interpret this and separate the truth from the propaganda. To help us do that, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Bill Gertz. Bill, of course, the senior editor for the Washington Free Beacon, author of the book I War, War and Peace in the Information Age. Bill, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning, Dan and Scott.
Morning. And so give us your read on that tete-a-tete between Un and Xi.
Yeah, this was a power play by the Chinese. They were caught flat-footed when the U.S. pressure campaign led Kim Jong-un to reach out to the U.S. and agree to hold talks with Trump. That left the Chinese on the sidelines, and this was a bid to try and get control of the talks. Chinese have been pushing for Kim and Trump to meet in China. The U.S. is saying no way. We relied on China for the last 10 years or so to try and fix the problem, and the Chinese were playing a double game, basically saying, yeah, they were going to work for denuclearization in Korea, but then secretly supporting Kim with lots of aid and third-party trade support and that kind of thing.
So we shouldn't take the pronouncement that UN is committed to denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula seriously.
Well, no. I think basically if you understand the way the regime works, it's a feudal system there. This is the third generation of a communist leader, and nuclear weapons have been the ultimate objective to keep him in power. I just don't see him giving up his nuclear weapons. That said, I think it's a good thing that he at least agreed to sit down and talk about it. If in fact it actually happens, we have to wait and see if they can work out the diplomatic details of such a big summit meeting.
Bill, when North Korea looks at the Iran deal negotiated by the Obama administration, look and say, look, here, this is what nuclear development, this is what aggression can get you, this kind of deal with the U.S. Is this part of the playbook?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Thinking that if there's some way that he could get massive infusions of billions of dollars in aid, as took place under the Iran deal, and now we have the Iranians funding terrorism, from Syria down to Yemen and elsewhere. It could certainly go that way. The Iran deal also is on the skids too. It's looking like the Trump administration will have to make a decision in May whether to pull out of the deal. There's pressure to do on both sides to keep the deal and to get out of it.
North Korea also feeling its oats after winning for the 11th consecutive year the International Earth Hour competition for the fewest lights on. Here's the question, switching gears just for a minute, Bill. So the expulsion of Russian diplomats, not just in the United States, but in the West general, Trump taking a harder line with Putin. What else needs to be done that can be done to properly chasten Putin? It's been suggested in the Wall Street Journal op-ed pages and elsewhere that unless you start to get to Putin's money, you're not really getting to Putin. So is there more financial pressure the Trump administration should be applying?
Yeah, this is a question that's been come up in the briefings this week with senior administration officials. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis was asked about it yesterday. What's the next step? Are they going to actually impose sanctions on Putin to go after his money? It's believed that he has an enormous chest of anywhere from $8 to $20 billion in funds, probably in Switzerland or other places, and they know where it is, and they could go after it. It remains to be seen whether they'll actually pull the trigger on those kind of sanctions, though.
You report in the Free Beacon, Bill, about 100 Russian intelligence officers are currently operating. Once the 60 leave, 40 will remain. So what kind of practical difference will getting rid of, 60% of Russian intelligence officers have?
It'll have a good impact. It's a significant reduction in their intelligence presence. It should have been done a long time ago, but these are people that are engaged in both what they call active measures, which are propaganda, disinformation, influence operations, as well as the more nefarious espionage to recruit people with access to secrets. Now, the good news is normally when there's a mass expulsion like this, the Russians will turn to their illegal networks. That's the deep cover agents that was highlighted by the show The Americans. Those networks were taken down back in 2010 when there was a major defection from the Russian intelligence service to the U.S., revealing their entire illegals network. So they're going to have trouble backfilling for those 60 expelled spies.
Yeah, and then The Americans is in its last season, too, ironically. So with respect to the new foreign policy team, and we were talking about, all of these enemies of America, Iran, North Korea, and the Russians, Bolton and Pompeo take much harder lines than did Tillerson and McMaster when it comes to nuclear deals and just general posture towards enemies of the United States. How do you assess a pivot that may be forthcoming with Trump's new team?
Yeah, I think it's really, really good sign. I know both Pompeo and Bolton. They're pros. They know what to do. Obviously, they've generated a lot of controversy from the left. They've taken political fire, outrageous claims that somehow Bolton is going to be a dangerous presence at the White House. He's a solid national security professional, and he'll do what the president wants. I think it's perfect for any president to pick the people who will follow his policies, and I think that wasn't happening under Tillerson and McMaster.
On that topic, John Bolton will do what the president wants when it comes to foreign policy. Based on your reporting, how seriously does the president consider advice from people like the newly appointed John Bolton when crafting a foreign policy response?
Well, it's very significant because basically people like Pompeo and Mattis and Bolton, they provide options, and the president picks those options. He doesn't normally go outside of the options that he's presented, so that's usually how the system works. I don't see that changing, even though Trump has a very strong instincts about what he thinks the policy should be. There have to be good people that can provide him with good options.
He is Bill Gertz, senior editor for the Washington Free Beacon, author of the book I War, War and Peace in the Information Age. Bill, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Check the weather today. Mostly cloudy, high near 47. Cloudy tonight with a low around 39. Thursday, 50% chance of rain, cloudy, high near 54, and cloudy overnight with a low around 32. And the sun finally comes out on Friday with a high near 47. Now we check the roads with Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Dan. It's got Lake Villa. We've got a closure of 132 Grand Avenue between Central and McKinley. This is due to a stalled train in Lake Villa. Edens is delay-free. Kennedy inbound, heavy Kimball to Washington. 38 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. 28 from Montrose, 26 in the Express. Up on 10 minutes to Montrose, 30 to the airport. About Eisenhower. Heavy North Avenue to the Tri-State and Cicero to the Circle. 55 minutes, 390 to downtown. 34 from Manheim. Outbound 33 minutes to 390. Stevenson, 47 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound it's now clear. Ryan, 35 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57 is fine. Bishop Ford, 19 minutes, 80-94 to the merge. Lakeshore Drive has mild delays. Southbound Belmont to North Avenue. Northbound 18th Drive to Jackson. The only tollway delays are on the northbound Tri-State, 87th to LaGrange Road, Plainfield Road to 47th, and from the Reagan tollway to the Eisenhower. I'm Jim Talamonte in the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center.
Selling your home, get ready with Mike McKetty. 708-945-2121. 708-945-2121.
Ready to sell your real estate? Call me, Mike McKetty, at Century 21 Affiliated. With over $1 billion in closed sales since 1999, I have a proven marketing plan that works. Clients like my straightforward, no-nonsense approach in positioning properties to sell. I offer accurate evaluations, saving you time, money, and unnecessary stress. Together, with my skilled team of associates and over 25 local Chicagoland offices, we help guide you through the process and get you sold. Call today, 708-945-2121. I look forward to earning your business and selling your home.
Selling your home, get ready with Mike McKetty. 708-945-2121. 708-945-2121.
Did you know that studies have shown that we need over 10 servings of fruits and veggies every single day? If you're like me, it's hard to find the time and money to prepare and eat all of those fruits and vegetables. Who can do that? Yet we know that proper nutrition can prevent health problems, give us energy, and help us heal faster. Balance of Nature has spent over 20 years researching and delivering solutions to this problem. We can ensure that you consume over 30 different fruits and veggies every single day. Our capsules are filled with 100% real whole foods. There isn't a single thing added to Balance of Nature products. They're pure. We spent an incredible amount of time on the quality of our products. We do this for you. We do it for our own families. Give yourself a break and give your body what it needs. Call now to receive 35% off your first Balance of Nature order. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Squirrely is a hard-working squirrel that enjoys life to the fullest, eager to take on new challenges and experiences alongside Starlet, his soulmate and the love of his life. Read Squirrely the Squirrel and Starlet and see the world through the eyes of a newborn squirrel. You'll delight in the antics of Squirrely, Starlet, and their little family. A heartwarming adventure that teaches family values. Beautifully illustrated, a great story time read. Squirrely the Squirrel and Starlet from Larry Friend. Available now at litfirepublishing.com. You will fall in love with Icy the Iceberg, the new, highly original children's book from Larry Friend. Follow Icy on his incredible journey, beginning his life as a sparkling snowflake and emerging as a beautiful blue floating iceberg. Icy the Iceberg is a joy for parents and kids alike. Experience together the fun creatures Icy encounters along his journey from snowflake to iceberg and back to snowflake. Kids will learn the complexities of the water cycle in a way they'll really enjoy. Icy the Iceberg, available now at litfirepublishing.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Scott Bertram, General Manager, WRFH, Radio Free Hillsdale at Hillsdale College, where we're broadcasting this morning. Scott sitting in for Amy J. this morning. And Scott, as somebody who is a practitioner of the dark art of journalism here at Hillsdale College, this interview of Michael Wolff cannot go unremarked upon. Michael Wolff, of course, who rose to infamy with his Fire and Fury book about what's really going on in the chaotic Trump White House, giving the inside dope, laying it to you straight, okay, so you understand. There's very concerning things, Michael Wolff said. And he was, even though there was some scrutiny of his sources and claims, he was celebrated. You couldn't turn on cable news for about 3 weeks without seeing Michael Wolff giving interviews and holding forth on the Trump administration. And yet he gives this interview to his alma mater, Vassar College. I mean, when did Vassar start accepting men? I know it's been for about 40 years or so. But the bottom line is, tell me the difference between Vassar and Wellesley. I dare you. This is what he said to the school newspaper, Vassar. I'm an observer. I investigate nothing. All I do is look and write what I see and what I hear, and my job, which has nothing to do with the truth, underline bold, is to take what I see and what I hear and write that in a way readers can come as close as possible, as close as I came, to the experience of doing this. I want to be able to turn what I see into something that a reader says, oh, I see that too. He says, does Michael Wolff, I'm barely a journalist, I'm a writer. That wasn't exactly how he presented Fire and Fury, was it?
Not at all, right? And the problem, he wants, reading kind of between the lines and inside what he's saying, what he wants you to look at him is like a documentary filmmaker. He's just there in the shadows, recording what's happening. He's not delving deeper into anything he sees. He's simply transferring it onto paper so you too could experience what he experienced.
Right.
But that's not at all the way the book was sold, the way that he sold the book when it first came out. And you mentioned earlier, if it sounds true, it must be true. It is true.
Trump may be having an affair with Nikki Haley.
Right.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
I don't know. If it sounds true to you, then it is true. If it doesn't sound true to you, then it isn't true. And by the way, that's not what to your point about how he's describing himself, I agree with the analogy. He thinks he's a documentarian.
Right.
But that's not how actual documentarians, credible documentarians, do their job.
Correct. And what he's more is, well, no pun intended, is a Michael Moore style documentarian.
Yeah, right.
Taking footage and perhaps selectively editing that footage or selectively editing what he sees, perhaps adding a few things, embellishing a few things. That's the way that book came out. So I think even at this kind of transparent documentarian analogy he's trying to make doesn't ring true at all either.
It's just an amazing. My job has nothing to do with the truth. You think if he had led with that, people would be gripped by every word he had to say about conversations he had with personnel at the White House and his reviews of what's really going on. I mean, he literally talked about a Trump administration that was in meltdown, that was dangerous, that, kind of implicitly suggesting, our freedoms and our fragile representative republic hung in the balance because of Trump was so unhinged and so reckless, and there was such chaos in the West Wing. And then he says, I don't tell the truth. Or I don't care about telling the truth.
What it becomes is like fan fiction, right?
Yeah.
You go online and, your favorite book series hasn't put out a book, or you want to continue the original Star Trek story, and people take the characters and embellish and create new storylines and give readers what they want. Wolf's book clearly gave his readers, generally Trump haters, what they wanted was a story of a White House in chaos and potential affairs and these things that he claimed to have seen. Is giving people what they want, even if it wasn't, as he said, having anything to do with the truth.
And where does this D.C. press corps come from, you wonder? They were all children at one point. Some still behave like that, but they're literally children at one point. And the disposition of journalism at the K through 12 level before you even get to the collegiate level. Let me give you an example. Rebecca Schneid, she is a high school student at the Parkland High School where the shooting occurred. And she runs the school newspaper, editor for the school newspaper. Here's how she sees journalism. I wonder where she gets this from.
Rebecca, I wonder what yesterday felt like for you, because I see a lot of Parkland students becoming activists, but you all were there as journalists. Do you see a difference right now between journalism and activism and what you're doing?
I think that, for me, the purpose of journalism is to raise, the voices of people that maybe don't have a voice. And so I think that in its own right, journalism is a form of activism.
Journalism is activism. The two are synonymous. That's different than how Hillsdale views journalism.
Absolutely. It's like the investigative journalism can make a difference, but that's not the reporter, the journalist advocating. It's the reporter journalist finding the facts, presenting them to the public in a fair way, in a factual way, and then having leaders, politicians, the people get on board to make change. But it's not, that change doesn't start with the journalist. You don't get into journalism, although, again, the students know this because journalists these days say it. We've all heard journalists interview. Why did you get into the business? Well, to make a difference.
Make the world a better place.
For social change, one of those answers.
And they won't say it the way that Michael Wolff said it, that my job has nothing to do with the truth. But what they do in terms of their conduct is to say, my job has something to do with expressing my truth. Mm-hmm. So I start with my truth, and then I write stories in furtherance of advancing my truth so that others can bask in my truth. That's what journalism has become, and that's why so many daily newspapers and other outlets are going the way of the dodo bird, or they're just hyper-politicized and hyper-partisan, and they just speak to a very narrow audience, and there is no discussion, side by side or otherwise, that's of any particular import because there are so few people concerned, like Michael Wolff, with the truth. Dan and Scott Bertram coming to you live from Hillsdale College. Coming up at 8:38, we're going to talk to Carolyn Glick. She is the author and senior contributing editor of the Jerusalem Post. She'll give us a bit of an update on Bibi's condition. He was rushed to the hospital, Prime Minister, suffering from a fever. So I hope that he's doing better. And she's also opined on the shakeup of Trump's national security team, specifically John Bolton as national security advisor. So we'll talk to Ms. Glick about that at 8:38. But now we check the headlines with Dave Stewart.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Scott. Good morning. It's 40 degrees in Chicago at 8:30 on AM 560. The Answer. Partly sunny today. We'll see a high of 57. California is suing the Trump administration over the move to include a question about citizenship on the 2020 census.
This latest move by the Trump administration to threaten California is not just a bad idea. It's against the law.
That's California Attorney General Xavier Becerra. He said that asking about citizenship doesn't only threaten immigrants, it also threatens everyone in the state of California. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders is not refuting a report that President Trump wants to tap into the large military budget to pay for that massive border wall.
When we have an announcement on that, I'll let you know.
The Washington Post says Trump is billing it as a national security issue in his talks with lawmakers. Jurors in the trial of the Pulse gunman's widow will hear closing arguments today. Noor Salman's attorneys rested yesterday after calling to the stand an expert on false confessions. He said he found her to be at a high risk of confessing to something she didn't do. The Chicago City Council this morning is expected to approve the first step in Mayor Emanuel's $8.5 billion plan to expand O'Hare. Aldermen will vote on borrowing $4 billion against future airline revenues to get that project off the ground. Aldermen also expected to vote on a specific ban on bump stocks or semi-automatic rifles and a ban on the private use of body armor. Aldermen may also empower police and animal control officers to break into a car on a severe weather day if they have to rescue a pet in obvious danger. Chicago Public Schools reports severe cleanliness problems. Inspections of about half of the city schools found that only 34 of the 125 buildings examined passed inspection. Some even failed follow-up inspections. Parents have complained about dirty schools since CPS privatized janitorial services 4 years ago. In sports in the NBA, the Rockets over the Bulls 118-86. Major League Baseball, Red Sox over the Cubs 4-2 yesterday. That's the end of the preseason. The Cubs open the real season at Miami tomorrow afternoon. The White Sox open the season in Kansas City tomorrow evening. The news, a service of Staples. Staples knows that running out of ink is no way to do business, so help keep your business working and your printers printing. Go to Staples for a huge selection of ink and toner and find your ink in stock every time and at a low price every day so you can meet every deadline. Staples, it's pro time. AM 560 News Time, 8:32. We'll check traffic in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Taste the difference of skilled gaucho chefs at Fogo de Chão Brazilian Steakhouse, where every cut is expertly prepared. Reserved today in Chicago, Rosemont, and Naperville at Fogo.com.
True story. So I urged one of my family members to call CertaPro Painters. He didn't do it, and that painting crew had to come back 3 times to fix their awful, sloppy mistakes, even paint on the floor, if you can believe it. Well, with CertaPro Painters, you get the best in the business. The attention to detail, color selection is truly unmatched. And now is the perfect time to get the interior of your home or business painted. The lower humidity provides an ideal environment for great coverage and quick drying times. They use fine quality paints with 0 or low VOCs, very little to no odor during application. Be an early bird and cross the first item off your 2018 to-do list. It's also the perfect time to spruce up your commercial property. Remember, each CertaPro Painter's business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com or call 1-800-GO-CERTA. That's CERTA with the C. CertaPro Painters, we do painting, you do life.
Hi, Barry Sterner, founder of Townstone Financial. We've all heard what the big banks have been doing. Time to call Townstone. I guarantee you can have confidence when calling me at 312-896-2110 or going to townstone.com that our only interest is getting you the best refinance deal available and to make sure your home purchase closes on time and without headaches. Great news, we have several new home mortgage programs. The first is a jumbo mortgage program that only requires a 15% down payment without any mortgage insurance. The second is a bank statement program which allows business owners and self-employed borrowers to finally qualify for a mortgage even if they don't show much income on their tax returns. Had a bankruptcy, short sale, or deed in lieu 12 months ago and want to purchase a new house? We have a program for you too. All programs have restrictions, so give me a call now at 312-896-2110. Remember, nobody values your home purchase business more than Townstone. I guarantee it. I own the company. That's 312-896-2110 or go to townstone.com.
Townstone Financials, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Illinois, mortgage licensee 6629 and NMLS 136639, equal housing lender.
The following is a paid political announcement.
For decades, our country has lived through the greatest jobs theft in the history of the world. Our factories were shuttered, our steel mills closed down, and our jobs were stolen away and shipped far away to other countries, some of which you've never even heard of.
And who's responsible for those lost jobs? Career politicians. Senator Joe Donnelly profited from Mexican labor, and Congressman Todd Rokita and Luke Messer, they voted to fast-track Obama's trade deals. Donnelly, Rokita, and Messer let Indiana jobs go to China and Mexico and sat on their hands. We can't trust them to bring good jobs back. Businessman Mike Braun, conservative, Christian, Mike Braun will help President Trump make America stronger than ever before.
I'm Mike Braun. I approve this message.
Paid for by Mike Braun for Indiana.
At 8:36 from the Alarm Detection Systems Traffic Center, here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, David. In Lake Villa, Grand Avenue, 132 is closed. In Central and McKinley, west of 83, it's due to a stalled train. Edens is clear. Kennedy inbound. Delays start at Kimball. It's still 40 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. 30 from Montrose, 32 in the express lanes with a backup of the Ohio feeder. Outbound 10 minutes to Montrose, 30 to the airport. About Eisenhower, 50 minutes, 390 to downtown, 33 from Mannheim, outbound 31 minutes to 390. Mount Stevenson delays are from Central to Kedzie, and State to Lakeshore Drive, 47 minutes, 355 to the drive, outbound 5 to 34. Mount Orion, 33 minutes, 95th to downtown, outbound 15. I-57, Bishop Ford, both fine now. Southbound Lakeshore Drive, traffic's a bit sluggish, Fullerton to North Avenue, northbound 18th Drive to Jackson. On Tri-State delays, 87th to LaGrange Road. The Reagan tollway to the Eisenhower and North Avenue to the Bensonville Bridge. The other tollways are fine, no problems. Freeport and Northwest Indiana. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
More of Chicago's Morning Answer next, but now the forecast. Partly sunny today, not quite as cool. We'll see a high of 57. Mostly cloudy tonight, a little late rain, a low of 42. Cloudy and cooler tomorrow. Rain in the early afternoon with a high of 48. Right now it's 40 degrees at O'Hare. Next news, 9 o'clock. Get continuous coverage of the latest news, traffic, and weather at 560theanswer.com. Now more of Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee.
Hey, before you read about it on Facebook or Twitter, or hear about it from your friends, find out what today's big stories really mean with me, Sean Hannity, today at 2, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan. And in for Amy this morning is Scott Bertram. He is the general manager of WRFH, Radio Free Hillsdale, where we are broadcasting live this morning, Hillsdale College in lovely Hillsdale, Michigan, one of the last bastions of Judeo-Christian values in higher education in America. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with Carolyn Glick as well, get her perspective on the national security shakeup, the Trump administration. But first, we got to get a Hillsdale parent on. Jay in Clarendon Hills, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Scott.
Hello.
It's
morning.
just been, hello, can you hear me? Okay, it's been so great to hear both of you talk about Hillsdale College. Obviously, I'm so thrilled that my daughter is there. She's a freshman. And I was just there this weekend, Dan, so we might have passed each other on the way up and on the way back. But
I was hanging out at Ludwig von Mises Library. Yes.
Okay, well, I definitely was not, but I was in the Kappa House.
There you go.
But she is an assistant news editor at the Collegian, and she's taken that Collegian class that you've been talking about, Scott, and she's just thrilled. And although I do take issue, I think you said that the Collegian was number 10 in the nation, and I texted Allison this morning. She said, no, Mom, it's number 7. So somebody has to check their facts. Not that it's a big deal. It's a great school. It's a great paper, and I just, it's just so neat to hear you broadcasting from Hillsdale, because it's a fantastic college. I mean, so much so that she said when we were trying to figure out where she should go, she said, Mom, if I don't go to Hillsdale, I think I want to go to COD. I mean, that's how much she thought of Hillsdale. So I'm glad you're, what a ringing endorsement to have you on the radio. And I don't want to take your time. I just wanted to say hello. And one more thing for all you dog lovers out there, you've got to listen to this song. I Think My Dog is a Democrat. Download it. It's hysterical.
Okay.
Listen to it sometime. And folks, just have a great day, okay?
Thanks a lot for the call, Jay. Appreciate it. Yeah, Hillsdale is a special place, and we're happy to have Jay's daughter here. I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to leave, unfortunately. I don't get to stay. I'm not good enough for Hillsdale, and I admit it. I admit it.
Maybe
I'm a work in
annual thing,
progress.
maybe?
Yes.
Something? Maybe.
Okay, switching gears, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Carolyn Glick. She is accomplished in her own right, author and senior contributing editor for the Jerusalem Post, also director of the Israeli Security Project for the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and she's always worth a read. In particular, most recently, she's opined on John Bolton as President Trump's new national security advisor. Caroline, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on the program.
And so you have described the move of elevating John Bolton to National Security Advisor to replace H.R. McMaster as a brilliant move, a brilliant America First move. Explain what you meant by that.
Well, I think the thing that really has distinguished John Bolton throughout his long career in American foreign policy making is that he always puts America first. He doesn't think that American foreign policy has to be ensnared in this concept of multilateralism and appeasing and making the so-called international community happy with the United States of America. He's very clear that if the United States can work in concert with its allies, that's great, but America's responsibility is to secure America's position and security in the world. And so, he, in his time at the United Nations and his time as the Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and Nonproliferation during the early years of the Bush administration, he accomplished an enormous amount, probably more than any other single American diplomat has, really since in decades, because he was very forthright and helped America's allies. He signed over 100 bilateral agreements with 100 different countries, getting them to commit not to bringing any charges against U.S. servicemen before the International Criminal Court, which is one of these multilateral institutions that were established at the end of the Cold War, really with the concept of curbing American power and blocking the ability of the United States to act independently of international institutions. So he was instrumental in ensuring that treaty, the International Criminal Court Treaty, wasn't ratified by the Senate, and then protecting the United States from the excesses of that treaty. Very important work that he did. And I think that right now the United States, under the Trump administration, is trying to extricate itself from a lot of these multilateral agreements, whether they're international trade agreements or international, like the nuclear accord with the Iranians that enables Iran to develop nuclear weapons rather than preventing them from doing so. All of those things require an American diplomacy that's forthright in its determination to secure American national security. And I think that when you do that in a smart way, that you're able to bring people along to join you, and that's what he proved during his time at the State Department, I think, and at the UN. So I think that the United States is going to be seen not leading from behind, but leading from in front, and in doing so, securing its own national security and also making the world in general a safer place.
Is the response, I shouldn't necessarily say response because I'm going to ask you if this is a response to Bolton and Pompeo to some extent, but PLO boss Mahmoud Abbas taking out after the Trump administration and America by extension. Again, how should we read the Palestinian Authority response or recent statements by Abbas to the Trump administration?
Oh, well, here too you see the United States finally extricating itself from this international framework, which was just demented, that said that the security of the Middle East, the stability of the Middle East, the fight against jihad was all based upon coercing Israel into coughing up land to the PLO, which is a terrorist organization, was crazy. And, for three successive U.S. administrations, from the Clinton administration through the George W. Bush administration and on to the Obama administration, is ever-escalating levels, the United States tethered its Middle East policy to this totally just crazy concept that the be-all and end-all of everything emanating from the United States was attacking and pressuring Israel to make concessions in territory to a terrorist organization. And now we're seeing, by the way, Israel conceded all of the Gaza Strip to the Palestinians 13 years ago. And today it's run by the terrorist organization Hamas, which is a jihadist movement, and aligned with Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all the rest. And the idea that Israel should continue to do that and that would bring peace to the Middle East as a whole, is so crazy that even the Arabs don't support it. The Arabs support Israel against Hamas and increasingly against the PLO, and there was the United States standing against the Arabs, being more, pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel than the Saudi Arabians. So, it got to the point where you just couldn't even explain American foreign policy with a straight face. John Bolton John Bolton has always opposed this, and President Trump came into office and he opposed it. So now he has John Bolton at his side, or he will in a week, as National Security Advisor, and the PLO has a reason to be upset. They're not going to be the darlings of Washington anymore. They're going to be treated like terrorists, which is what they are.
Caroline Scott Bertram, your piece, Bolton's appointment is a brilliant America First move. People throw around words, they don't know what they mean. Bolton described as a neoconservative. I've seen him described as a paleoconservative. But when you think about his stances on nation building over the years, it does not fit that neat description, the neat narrative of him being a warmongering neoconservative, does it?
Not at all. I mean, there were opposing views on whether the United States should overthrow the regime of Saddam Hussein or not in 2003. There was an overriding concern for his support for terrorism and his chemical weapons programs, and so those were the main kind of reasons that the United States wanted to go into Iraq. But when things started getting bad, and the United States was surprised to find an insurgency developing there against U.S. forces. I mean, I was embedded with the 3rd Infantry Division during the invasion of Iraq, and the United States really, I think, in a way, was flying blind when they went in there. They weren't the troops that I was with. The commanders weren't clear on what awaited them in Iraq in the way that they probably should have been. But they immediately changed gears and said, no. What we're really in Iraq for is not to fight terrorism, and it's not to prevent the proliferation of weapons and mass destruction. It's to democratize the Arab world. And the minute that they did that, they basically doomed themselves, because the United States, with all due respect, has no idea how the Arab world works. And it was very clear by the kinds of things that they were doing in order to advance democracy. They didn't try to change or impact the underlying culture, which is anti-liberal. They said, okay, I'll go have elections. And then the Iranians came in, gave a few $1 million here, a few $1 million there, and lo and behold, the parties that won the election were all controlled by Iran. And the insurgency went on. And so John Bolton said that's not the goal of American foreign policy. Our goal isn't to change the world. Our goal is not to democratize the world, certainly not to bring elections to societies where the majority is going to vote for jihadist parties that hate the United States. We want to use American power judiciously in order to protect America's national security and its interests and its allies. We don't go in willy-nilly to whatever country and say, okay, we're going to change the way you think about the world. And so he was opposed to the whole nation-building strategy that was adopted by the Bush administration fairly early on, but after the invasion of Iraq in 2003. And because he supported the initial invasion, which almost everybody in the United States supported, he was lumped in with the people who came up with this cockamamie idea of transforming Iraq into the United States.
Caroline, could you give us an update in terms of what you know about President Netanyahu's, Prime Minister Netanyahu's medical condition, and also an assessment of his political condition, as he's still the subject of this corruption investigation?
So first of all, the medical condition is that he had the flu a week ago, and he was out sick at home with the flu for several days. And then after about 4 or 5 days with the flu, he went back to work, and apparently he went back too early. And so he contracted a viral infection, and that caused sort of a relapse into the flu, and he had a very high fever. So they brought him to the hospital, did a bunch of tests, and sent him home after a number of hours and prescribed bed rest and medication. So he should be up and about in a few days if he keeps off, if he manages to rest. So I think that he's fine. And in terms of his his situation politically, we have a situation in Israel, which is not unlike the situation in the United States in terms of, having a bureaucracy that runs the levers of the state that are very politicized. And we're seeing that very clearly right now with the police investigation of Netanyahu. This is very clearly politically driven. And when you look at all of the charges against him, they don't actually amount to anything. Not that they don't amount to much. They don't amount to anything. And so I think what they're doing is, unfortunately, diminishing the public's trust in our law enforcement agencies and driving a wedge even further between the left and the right in Israel, where the left, which hates Netanyahu, supports the police investigators, and the right and the center, which are the vast majority of Israelis, it's a much more conservative country than the United States, are becoming less and less trusting of the police. So we're having a situation in Israel that really does mirror the public assessment of the Mueller investigation of the alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia.
She is Caroline Glick, author and senior contributing editor of the Jerusalem Post. You can also get her writings at carolineglick.com. She's the director
and Breitbart.
And Breitbart.
I started working with them a couple of months ago, too.
Okay, great.
Website.
And Breitbart as well. And she's also the director of the Israeli Security Project for the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Caroline, thanks so much for joining us.
And I'd love to come visit Hillsdale sometime, just saying.
Oh, there you go.
Making a note right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, great.
Very good. Caroline Glick, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you behind in your mortgage, facing foreclosure, being given the runaround on a loan modification application by some bank or servicer? Well, you're not alone, but I may be able to help you. My name is Lou Bridges. I'm with the law firm of Lou Bridges & Associates. We've put together a team to help distressed homeowners like you. Give us a call. We give everyone who's eligible a free consultation. I guarantee you it will not be a sales pitch. We will give you our honest analysis, counsel, recommendations, and advice regarding your options.
We are experts in doing loan modifications successfully. We know the regs. We understand the process. Most importantly, we don't take no for an answer. We fight. We are prepared, and we win. We save houses. We make houses affordable. So if you want to keep your house affordable, contact us.
Go to bridgeslaw.net or call 224-513-1231. That's 224-513-1231.
Remember, people, never give up the land. Fight for truth and justice. You do that, and I guarantee you'll never be alone.
Looking to refinance your existing mortgage and want the lowest rates and lowest closing costs? Then you need to call Team Hochberg. Other lenders boast about having low closing costs, which is like me saying I look good in a pair of 32-inch pants. Truth is, other lenders' closing costs are substantially higher than Team Hochberg's closing costs, and I haven't fit into a pair of 32-inch pants in over 40 years. Compare Team Hochberg's closing costs against any other lenders, and if our closing costs aren't lower, I'll donate to Veterans Roasters, an organization who hires homeless veterans to roast coffee, and an organization Team Hochberg already financially supports. When securing a mortgage, you can either work with a lender whose definition of low closing costs are over $1,000 higher than ours, or you can call Team Hochberg now at 312-751-1333. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of AM 560 listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 312-751-1333 or visit am560david.com. Pearl Mortgage, an equal housing lender, Illinois residential mortgage licensee 4358 and MLS 19186.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to focus in and talk about the big ideas behind the important issues. Enter Upstream Ideas online at upstream-ideas.com. Upstream Ideas, in partnership with the Illinois Opportunity Project, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted beliefs. Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now at upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to help encourage you to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit freer, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
Starting Balance of Nature, I felt that the first month I felt different. It made such a difference that now I wake up, my head feels clearer, I have more energy. Very rarely does my body cramp up anymore. It's the best thing. It's just amazing. I don't know what to say. I just would not be what I am today if I didn't start Balance of Nature.
I plan on taking this the rest of my life because until I started taking your stuff, I never took as many fruits and vegetables in a day as I get through you guys. You know, I'm very, very, very satisfied.
My pain and it went away. I swear to you that that's the truth.
When you call, use discount code CHICAGO, and we'll take 35% off your first month's order and ship it to you free. Call 800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
Nobody should have to live with depression. Not anymore.
It's a new year. Time for a new you.
Abilify, Wellbutrin, Seroquel, Rexulti. These are common drugs prescribed for depression. You may be able to get off the drugs and the endless counseling. You've heard about the revolutionary TMS therapy.
Now it's time to get a free consultation from HPR Centers.
And your frustration with life and relationships. In a few short weeks, your life will change. It's FDA cleared, safe, and it's covered by most insurance, including Blue Cross Blue Shield and Medicare. TMS therapy treats the cause of your depression. Millions have been treated. The results, nothing short of outstanding. HPR Centers are proud to bring TMS therapy to Chicagoland and Milwaukee.
You need to take the first step. Call.
The war on depression is over.
You win.
HPR Centers.
800-604-0208. 800-604-0208.
Go to endmydepression.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Bob Ament, a founding partner of the law firm of Daspin and Ament and longtime personal customer of Signature Bank. Our firm recently left one of the larger banks to bank with Signature Bank, and it's been a refreshing change. With Signature Bank, we've been able to tailor banking solutions that fit the specific needs of our firm. Beyond that, Signature Bank is responsive, efficient, and timely in meeting those needs. If I have a request, I pick up the phone and talk to Mick O'Rourke, not someone at a phone bank thousands of miles away. Daspin and Ament needed more than what the larger banks offer, and we found that with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Scott Bertram, Radio Free Hillsdale. Scott, this last 2 days broadcasting with you here at Hillsdale it really has been like a vacation for me. It's been a ton of fun. The students here are whip smart. They're really fun to talk to. It's a special place. You're lucky to be up here.
Thank you. I feel I am lucky to be here. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for inviting me to guest host. I had a total blast doing this past 2 days, and I think we can figure out a way to get you back.
All right, very good. Maybe I'll come along with Carolyn Glick.
Yeah.
I'll ride shotgun with Caroline. All right, well, let's turn it over to the headlines, and Dave Stewart has those.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Scott. Among the stories we are watching today, the City Council takes up a couple of gun-related bills at its meeting today. The city's top cop is contradicting the police oversight agency and calling a police shooting justified. And charges have been filed against a Gary woman in the deaths of her 2 children. In sports, the Loyola Ramblers are on their way to San Antonio. Partly sunny and warmer today. We'll see a high of 57. We'll get the rest of the local news after an update from Fox on AM 560, The Answer. You're listening to WIND Chicago. It's 40 degrees.